Is it just me, or are films too dark these days? I'm watching a film at the moment called Malevolent, and there are scenes in it where I cannot see what's going on at all. I can see movement, you know, shadows, and I'm not sure if I'm supposed to not know what's going on. But the weird thing is, it's not like it's a particularly scary or spooky bit where you're supposed to be a bit unaware of those shadows, and it's two people in a bedroom, and one of them wakes up, I think, and gets up out of the bed. I think. There's movement and shuffling. There's no talking, and we're clearly supposed to know what's going on, and I cannot fucking see a thing. There's a line in one of the recent Scream films. What the one is 5 and 6 I've just done. Scream 5. This is the opening scene, and it's what's the name from Wednesday? Jenna Ortega is talking on the phone to the killer guy, and she's talking about how films in the 90s were way overlit. And I remember when I heard that she says they're way overlit and everybody had weird haircuts. Okay, the weird haircuts thing, that's fine. I can go with that, you know. I don't think there's such thing as a weird haircut. You know, at least they've got hair. Fuckers. This whole lighting thing, when she said that in that film, I was like, really? And it got me to thinking, and I actually went back and watched the original Scream, and I kind of thought, it's not overlit at all. It's I can see what's going on. Does that mean it's overlit? Being able to see what's going on is overlit? Oh, see, this is a 90s film. This is a noughties film, and this is a film from today. This is today's version of one of my blogs. Now, which do you prefer? I like this one, quite honestly, so we can see what's going on. See my beautiful face. It's not necessary to see on this particular vlog, but it's just, what's wrong with things being well lit? That's why we have the sun. Are you going to criticise the sun now? Oh, it's too well lit. I prefer it at night, at twilight. Twilight's pretty cool, actually. But do you want that all the fucking time? We want to be able to fucking see what's going fucking on. There's too much emphasis on style now. You know, you look at movies now and they all look the same. They all sound the same. You know, they're different because they have different people in them. They have different stories. But they all look so perfectly, brilliantly. Because the technology is so good now, they can make things look beautiful when they're not. And then they choose to take that beauty and douse it in darkness so you can't fucking see it at all. I don't know, who'd be a filmmaker now? I'm glad I'm not an actual proper filmmaker, because you know, when I make films, I make them according to what I think. When I write my books, I write them according to what I think. I don't worry about the trends. I don't worry about what's popular, what's out of date. Nobody's actually ever said that actually about any of my work. I don't think that it's like outdated or it's from the past. Somebody once said that my work's too Monty Python. As if that's a legitimate criticism. And that maybe I should update my humour. And I just like, no. It's not like updating your clothing, your wardrobe, you know, fashions do change. Humour doesn't. Humour just gets worse. Have you noticed that? Humour's got worse and worse and worse. And it gets worse partly because people have become lazy, I think, when it comes to humour. You look at a lot of these American films, the Judd Apatow, oh, nightmare. What a wanker he is. Judd Apatow makes films filled with comedians whose job it is to sort of improvise. And you watch these films and you're just watching people improvise. You're just watching people who try to make the people behind the camera laugh. And then the people who are there remember how funny it was at the time, and they've edited it into a movie, and then we're watching it like we're watching, for me, it's like watching somebody else's conversation and not really being invited into it. It's like I don't get the joke. You know, it doesn't translate to us because we weren't there. With actors like Will Ferrell, although I like Will Ferrell, it's pretty good. In fact, I like them all, but I think the problem is that they're encouraged to make those kind of films. They're encouraged to ad-lib all the way through. You know, Bridesmaids. Bridesmaids is fundamentally a good film, but it's laced with characters making stuff up. And you can tell when they're making stuff up because it's not as funny. You know, it's not as funny. It was funny on the day, but it's not written, it's not scripted, it's not been thought through and perfected. The lines have not been, you know, poured over and like comedy should be. Comedy should be. I'm not saying it should be structured, although you have to have a certain amount of structure with comedy, I think, unfortunately. But then there are no set structures. The structure you construct is entirely down to you. But if you don't have any structure at all, it's not comedy. It's just people messing about in front of the camera. And that's where we are now with comedy, in my opinion. And also, the other thing that's happened is that we're not allowed to say a lot of stuff, or people think we're not allowed to say a lot of stuff. So a lot of comedies these days are so bland that they don't make any kind of points. They don't tackle real issues because they're too afraid that people will think they're making light of them. That's the weird thing about comedies. Laughing at something is seen to be either ridiculing it or dismissing it, or belittling it. When I laugh, it brings joy into my life. It's heartfelt. Well, maybe sometimes, you know, when I do these vlogs, I do tend to pick on things that annoy me, but I don't go for the big subjects, really. I go for a sort of a middle ground. I don't make silly jokes about silliness that have no substance or meaning, and I don't make jokes about terrorism or anything like that. I make comments and jokes about, you know, why films are so dark now as opposed to in the 90s. So I deliberately choose things that are annoying, but they're not too dividing. I hope they're not too dividing. I hope there's probably a load of cinematographers from movies out there going, well, thinking they're going to hunt me down and kill me because I say that their films are too dark. The guy that made Malevolent is probably going, oh, that fucker, I'm going to turn him into a ghost and then he can haunt me if he can. Fucking probably he's not impotent enough. What? Not potent enough. Too impotent. Anyway. So I just thought, this is the second one I've recorded today. I'm doing a lot of these right now because I've just got this camera sitting on my desk, and every time I have a thought I pick it up and I start talking. So I might not upload all of these, but then I might. 90s, 2000s, 90s, 2000s. Afterwards, in post, I'm going to make the darker bits look darker and the lighter bits look lighter. Because that's what they do. Anyway, I'm going to watch the end of the film now, or rather I'm going to listen to it and look at a dark picture. Although it's got Florence Pugh in it, and she's very pretty. And she's a good actress, and she's pretty. I said to my daughter, do you want to see the best opening shot of a movie ever, the other day? My daughter's 15. And she said, yeah, okay. So I showed her the opening of Lost in Translation. And I don't know if you've seen that film or if you remember it, but the opening shot of Lost in Translation starts as a black screen and it fades in to a shot of Scarlet Johansson's bum in some scanty pants. And I showed that to my daughter, saying, "It's the best." Try to make it seem like a serious, you know, cinematographer, film lovers kind of evaluation of what is genuinely and in the history and the importance of cinema, the greatest opening shot of a movie ever, and it's a girl's bum. And it really is. It really is the greatest opening shot of a movie ever, I think. And she looked at me like I was a pervert. I don't quite understand why she thinks that. But yeah, the reason I bring that up is, okay, that was a bum, and that's different. But then, you know, the female body is a beautiful thing to behold. And girls' faces are beautiful things to behold. Now, I don't see it so wrong for me to sort of constantly talk about who's pretty. Because I think, when it comes to beauty, there's nothing more beautiful than a beautiful woman. There's nothing. There's no landscape, there's no clouds, there's no waterfall, there's no rock formation, there's no star burst. I mean, there's just nothing that comes close to a pretty face. And girls have pretty faces and boys don't. Maybe that's because I'm truly hetero, but to me, boys just don't. So that means, even more so, I appreciate feminine beauty. If there's anything going to make me believe in God, it would be a beautiful face. If I wasn't, like, totally atheist. On the other hand, it doesn't make sense. That wouldn't make sense either. Because girls look like their mums. And a little bit like their dads sometimes. And you can see that. So that demonstrates that God hasn't done that. That demonstrates his genetics. He hasn't painted that picture on her face. That's genetics that's done that. And although you could argue, well, maybe he designed the first one and all the others are... Yeah, well, that means that... See, this is a fundamental thing that I've always had a problem with. I'm going to look in the camera. See, the problem with this is I'm looking at the screen. There's a screen at the side of the camera, so I'm looking at the screen there. So it looks like I'm looking slightly off, like I'm boss-eyed or something. But but if I look at the thing, there's a light there, so I kind of go, woo-hoo. Adam and Eve. Okay, I'm going to finish on this thought. Adam and Eve, the first man and the first woman, they had kids. Who did their kids breed with? Each other. So why aren't we all malformed? Why don't we all have webbed feet and 6 legs and 18 fingers on each toe? Why are we normal? Or maybe we're not normal. Maybe Adam and Eve had like 1 foot each and 1 toe on each foot and 1 eye and 2 noses. And through mutation with them breeding with each other, we've ended up being like this. Just a little thing that I've often thought and hardly ever mentioned. Said it to my kids recently and they kind of went, oh yeah. So there you go. So I've got advocacy there. I'm definitely going now. Oh shit, I'm still here.